All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a new edition of the Breakaway Bandits podcast here on the Sports Vicinity Network. Got the top line, even though Moser's kind of like the left bench guy. But Moser, Mike, with you, gentlemen. Good afternoon. How we doing? I shouldn't even ask because I know I have to play referee today.
You're the special.
I got to be the referee.
Yeah.
You gotta get those stripes on, Mike.
You know what this feels like, though? It feels like I'm Seth Rollins at last year's SummerSlam with Punk versus McIntyre, or 2 years ago with Punk and McIntyre.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we are on to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We have one series, the last series starting tonight, HABS Sabres. We will dive in as both of these guys will explain why their team will win for whatever reason. But we'll also give thoughts on the Oilers after a disappointing end to their season, as well as the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I do want to start with some news from Elliot Friedman about an hour or so ago. The NHL's informed teams of what the salary cap is going to look like next year. The floor is $76.9 million. I don't know why they didn't just round up to 77, but you know what? The midpoint is 90.4, and the ceiling is $104 million. So that'll be your salary cap going into next year. So that is up
pretty good.
Almost $9 million from last year.
That's nice. That's pretty good.
Very good for players, especially. A lot more money to be spent around.
Well, that's the thing. This is not the biggest free agency class that it was supposed to be.
Right, but I think that this will be helpful. I think, and I forgot who said it. There was another insider that mentioned like he expects to be there to be a lot more trades this year.
Yeah.
And this offseason, especially because of the free agent crop. And I agree. And you look at some of these, some of the names that are out there as like could be moved. I mean, we don't know what's happening with Austin Matthews. We think based on some certain events that maybe he'll stay. We don't know but there's still a question mark there. Brady Tkachuk. There's been talk, who knows what's going to happen with that situation. If he's going to be in Ottawa next season, Connor Hellebuck.
I think there's a big question mark about Dylan Larkin in Detroit.
Right.
There's a guy in Dallas by the name of Jason Robertson who
we don't know.
After what just happened to the Stars, who knows what happens there? So.
A lot of disappointing exits this year, feels like.
Well, that also goes into the playoff format now, how it's been formatted. But I mean, we said it when we did the preview, like Minnesota, Dallas. It's the top three two of the top three records in the league. One of them's going out in round one.
I do, just to go off a tangent a little bit. I think the playoff format is fine because, yeah, true. Like, oh wow, Minnesota, Dallas play each other in the first round, and so one of them gets out. It's like, well, you could have great teams at the top anyway, and it's like, oh wow, so Dallas is a great team, but happens just to be the wild card. So that, to me, it's like it doesn't really. I don't think reseeding would really fix anything. I think because, like, think about teams in the East. Like, Boston had an off year, and they played Buffalo. So it's like, okay, but Boston, even if they were slightly better, I don't think would have been in the top teams. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just don't see it being a massive issue right now.
I mean, look, this is the first playoff experience that I've had in like 15 years. So the last time that there were playoffs, I think it was the 1-8 format in like 2011. And I had liked that format. And like, I mean, I guess they have the reasons for going away from it, but like, I don't know. I mean, like, I definitely think, like, I definitely understand the argument of like with Dallas and Minnesota, like this shouldn't be a first round matchup. This should be like, a second round at the earliest, maybe in a Western Conference final. But, it's just the way that the format is. But I've seen a lot of people basically be like, yeah, Dallas got eliminated too early because, like, the format's weird and you're having, like, Pittsburgh and Dallas get eliminated in the same, like, round, which granted, Pittsburgh rallied to make the playoffs, but, like, there was some questions there about them making the play. That some of these, like, more powered teams are getting eliminated in, like, the same round as, like, some of, like, the first teams that, like, barely made it. And so everyone's like, this is weird. This is a weird format. Why was this so I understand the complaints. I also understand those that, like, do like the format, and but we definitely wouldn't be getting the classic Sabres Bruins, or, like, in this case, Sabres Canadians rivalry if we these are rivalries that have gone on for decades, and we wouldn't be getting those if the first round if the format was different. So
well, the other thing about the format is I think the format also gives some other teams hope. So let's just look at the Central for a second, because you have those three teams: Colorado, Minnesota, and Dallas. And then let's look back at the wild card. Like, Nashville got off to such a bad start. You knew they weren't getting a top three. Then at the end of the year, they're right there in the wild card.
Right.
Mhm.
Winnipeg, even though the Winnipeg Jets should have been better, that's a whole nother conversation.
Utah's able to make it.
At the end. Yeah.
Utah's able to make it for the first time.
Utah. I mean, hell, yes, Utah. Great point. And
Anaheim
the LA Kings made it because the 3-point system.
Well, and then
overtime 30 times.
Well, and then the Ducks broke their playoff drought too. So
power of Coach Q.
But yeah, so I mean, I get the both sides of it.
All right. So here's what happened round one. We'll go west to east, and then we'll break down Canadian Sabres, and then we'll break into a couple of the other teams who didn't make it. So in the west, you had the Avs sweep the Kings, and you had Minnesota beat Dallas in 6 games. And then the Pacific Division, Vegas outlasted Utah in 6. By the way, how great is that Utah fan base?
Yeah, they showed out.
Incredible. Yeah.
And the Ducks got by the Oilers in 6 games too. We will definitely get into the Oilers. In the Eastern Conference, the Flyers beat the Penguins in 6 games, and the Hurricanes, who are still undefeated in the playoffs, swept the Ottawa Senators. I still feel like a fool for thinking Ottawa could win, but you know what? I often look like a fool. And then in the Atlantic, the Sabres beat the Bruins in 6, and the Canadiens beat the Lightning in 7, which was a fantastic series.
Probably the best playoff series I've ever seen. And I know it's going to sound biased as a Canadiens fan, but every single game, every single one decided by a goal. That's it. There was a crazy stat that I believe Kenny Albert said on the broadcast that, and this was at Game 7, in the previous 6 games, a team had led by more than 1 goal for 5 minutes. That's it. Across the entire 6 games.
Wow.
That just neck and neck the whole way through. Not great for me. I was having heart attacks every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But welcome to my world.
But no, I mean, as far as, like, if you're not a fan of one of these two teams where you just want great playoff hockey, that was exactly what you want. That was exactly what you got.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was definitely like the tightest series and like the whole thing. And I mean, I really thought Dallas and Minnesota was going to go 7, and it didn't. And that is what it is. But yeah, I mean, Montreal, I mean, literally Montreal and Tampa, right down to like the last period, decided the entire series. And it's just like, wow, that's.
And it's off the really craziest bounce you're ever gonna see.
That new hook goal, I still don't know how that went in.
But even the bounce off the glass to get it to him was
Yeah, just perfect setup to
oh
bounce
my God.
right to New Hook. Just insane.
I thought Edmonton Anaheim also had a really good chance of 7 just because it became goaltending optional the whole
Yeah,
series.
it really did. There were a lot of interesting series. I will say, just to really quick say, like, credit to the Kings. They kept that series, like, obviously they got swept, but I will say the games were a lot closer than I thought they would be, except for the last one.
You know what? You're right. They kept it close, which is kind of what their thing was all year. But at the end of the day, the Avs are just a wagon.
Well, the
Yeah,
Avs, I
yeah.
was gonna say, the Avs are just on a heater right now. I mean, it's
Who are
just like
also
Yeah,
undefeated.
they're undefeated too. Yeah.
They are so them and Carolina are undefeated. So we have a possible situation brewing here that two undefeated teams in the playoffs could meet in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Which natural disaster is worse, an avalanche or a hurricane?
Or a hurricane.
Yeah, well, that's the force meets the what is it? The force meets the immovable object or something like that.
The unstoppable force meets the immovable
They're
object.
they're gonna sweep all 3 rounds and meet in the cup final, and then go 7, and then Game 7 is gonna go 10 overtimes.
Yeah, making up for all the games we missed out on.
And they're currently cutting the cup in half because they can't take it anymore.
Do you think?
They've surrendered.
Just real quick, just hypothetical. Just real think about it. If a game is going and it's like 10 overtimes, do you think the NHL ever calls it like, okay, we're gonna restart this? So,
guys, go get some sleep. We'll restart it noon tomorrow.
We'll restart noon tomorrow. Like I feel
they'll keep going. I forgot. I think the longest game ever was like 5 overtimes where it was like Pittsburgh.
You, me, and our friend Ryan, we were watching the game. It was Columbus and Tampa.
Well, there was also a Philly-Pittsburgh 5 overtime.
I thought Philly-Pittsburgh was still the longest one from like 2000. I do remember that Tampa Columbus one because I remember we didn't watch that together because I was at my one news station at the time, but I remember driving to work and being like, oh yeah, oh yeah, there's like hockey on or whatever, and then literally like I'm eating dinner like in between like news shows. And they're like, "Oh yeah, they're still going on," and I'm like, "What? The game started at 3."
Okay,
so the longest game in NHL history, you have to go all the way back to March 24th of 1936, when the Detroit Red Wings beat the Montreal Maroons in 6 overtime, and then more recently, Philly-Pittsburgh did go longer than Tampa, Columbus.
So we have Philly and Pittsburgh. Yeah, Philly and Pittsburgh went 6 overtimes. Columbus, Tampa Bay went 3 overtimes. They went a full 3. They went a full 90 minutes. I'm trying to remember, Nate. I feel like there was one that you, me, and our friend Ryan watched, and it was just going on forever.
We had watched. That was the Vegas in their first season because I remember Eric Hall.
Yes.
I forgot who that was against. I forgot who that was against. Might have been against like the Kings or something.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna start by date here because I remember us watching that. I just live on it.
Oh, I mean, I could probably Google that. Because Eric Hall got the goal. I remember that. Like.
Oh, it was. Okay, yeah, Vegas Golden Knights. It was against the Kings.
Yeah. How many overtimes was that? It was like 2 or 3.
It was 2.5. We went like full 2 overtimes, and we're like, we
yelled in the dorm. We yelled in the dorm room at like 2 a.m.
because we're like, just score already. I want to go to bed.
Well, while we're on the subject of the Kings, just want to give a quick shout out to Anze Kopitar, who's now officially retired because of the Kings season ending. Absolute Hall of Famer. So
absolutely, retire his number next season. There's no reason to wait on that.
Opening night.
Exactly.
Whoever it's against. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? And they should. You know what? No, do a dual night because Jonathan Quick's retiring too. Retire Jonathan Quick's number 2 while you're at it.
I mean, don't do it the same night just because you want them to have their own night, but definitely do both next season.
I mean, honestly though, wouldn't that be more special? I mean, they won two cups together.
You could probably ask them. You could probably
Yeah.
be like, "Hey, we want to retire your number. Do you care if you do it together? Because if you want your own night, we'll do it that way. But if you want to do it together, because you won two cups together, sorry, Mike, but um, you can have it retired the same night or different nights, and
Yeah, I think that's
so
fair.
yeah.
Uh, yeah. So see what happens next for the LA Kings. But the gist of this episode is going to be Habs Sabres, mainly because that series starts tonight. The other series have already started. We got the Hurricanes up 2-0 on the Flyers. Vegas is up 1-0 on the Ducks, and the Avs are up 2-0 on the Wild. Man, what a playoff Nathan McKinnon's having.
Well, I just want to say too, I loved how Montreal Lightning played on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and they were 2-1 nail biter. Like goals weren't going in. Like every goal, both goaltenders were like on fire. And then here comes Avalanche and the Wild. They're like, we're gonna put up 17 goals.
Well, that's the thing too. I think like didn't Makar get like hurt? Like he got hurt and then he got off the ice, came back, and then got like 2 goals or something.
Yeah, Makar came back into the game and he got a couple.
Yeah,
And
every time I see Makar play, I think of what everybody used to say about Paul Coffey, which obviously I didn't see Paul Coffey play like live. I was too young, but watching the highlights of Paul Coffey, and I forgot who said it, but they said Paul Coffey was basically a forward on defense because all he would do, he was just another forward for the Oilers. Like he was just on the back end. Like he was so good. He provided so much offense. And that's what Makar does. He looks like a forward the way he skates.
and by the way, Makar's going to get paid this summer.
Yeah,
I know. There's times where he looks like a McKinnon a little bit.
Yeah. You'll see the MA, and I'm like, damn you, oh, it's Makar.
No, it's Makar. Easy mistake. Yeah, he's so good, man.
They're so good. By the way, Quinn Hughes is also going to get paid this. You know what? Forget the forwards. I want one-on-one Makar versus Hughes. Let's just get that for 7 games.
heck yeah.
All right. So, Nate, I'm going to go to you first because you got the regular season stuff in front of you for Sabres Canadians.
You're saying regular season? No, I have the play. I have the playoff.
Oh, you got playoff numbers. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
so I'll let you go.
Regular?
Dive into it, and then we'll get into the season, the series.
Okay. Okay? So I'll just go off the stats of like some of the best.
Yeah.
From the playoff.
Talk about what you want.
All right. So I'll start with the Sabres just because that's the first one that I got open. But they played the Bruins in 6 games. Some leaders from that, I mean, Alex Tuck, who is another person who needs to get paid, his contract's up. In the 6 games against the Bruins, he had 4 goals, 3 assists for 7 points. That's like one of your like biggest leaders and one of your best offensive guys coming through. It's a obvious saying, but in like these type of series, your best players need to be your best players. Like you can't like have them disappear. And Tuck was right front and center. Tage Thompson had 7 points as well in 6 games, 2 goals. Those both came in game 1 and their comeback against the Bruins in game 1. 5 assists as well. Bowen Byram had a really interesting series against Boston because he had 3 goals and 2 assists for 5 points. He had, I think, 11 goals in the regular season for the Sabres, and then he already has 3 in 6 games. So he was one where you talk about the defense being the identity of the Sabres. He was one of the biggest factors for their scoring. And 2 more guys I want to talk about. They don't necessarily have as many points up on the score sheet, but Zach Benson and Josh Doan, man, they're on that third line. Noah Ostlund was centering that line. And now it's Josh Norris after he came back from injury. But Benson, man, 2 goals, 1 assist for 3 points. He, including the dagger that happened in game 6 where he made it 3-1. And you got to talk about Josh Doan because Doan beats both Pasternak and McAvoy for the puck, takes a massive hit by McAvoy into the boards. He got blasted into the boards. It took him a little bit to get back up, but he did what he had to do, beat both guys, got the puck, and passed it on a backhand over to Benson, who was right in front of the net. No Bruins near him. Roofs it over Swayman, and it's a 3-1 game in the third. And the air just went completely out of the building in Boston. So those two guys were super young. I think Doan's 24 and Benson, I think, he's not even 21 yet. I mean, they're getting valuable playoff experience and they don't look out of place. This is their first playoff series, and both of those two guys, I'm looking to see what they're going to do in this upcoming series as well. Do you want me to do Montreal too, or should Noah do that?
No, Noah should. But before he goes, I do want to say this.
Sure.
So I have it up on my phone. So the Sabres and Canadiens split the regular season series 2-2.
They did.
Here's the funniest thing. They also had the same amount of goals. They both scored 13 goals in the 4 games.
Okay, Nate, I don't know if you have the same feeling. This is going to be just like Montreal Tampa. It's going to be down to the wire.
Yeah, no, it feels like it. I definitely, one thing, I don't know what this series is going to look like, but it's going 7.
Yeah, I have a good feeling this is going 7.
Now, I will say this before you go. The 2 Montreal wins had Dobis in goal, the guy who just beat the Lightning. So.
And that's who I got to start with when I'm talking about Montreal, because that was one of Montreal's biggest question marks, I think, going into this season was we finally, we either traded or got the Carey Price contract off. We finally said, all right, we're done. We're not trying to, worry about Carey Price coming back. We're going into a new era of Montreal in net. And we needed somebody to step up. And to me, Jakub Dobeš has done the absolute best. Started all 7 games against the Lightning, a team that put up goals. Let's not forget, Nikita Kucherov had 130 points, and everyone else had many goals behind that. And this guy went out, had a 2.03 goals against average and a .923 save percentage, which is the second best or third best among goaltenders right now in the playoffs. He has been having just an incredible playoffs here, and I'm so happy that we feel like we now have a guy in net that we can trust. And this guy's young too; he's only 24 years old, so I feel good about that. But I also think what we have to talk about is, because Montreal did not score many goals in this series against Tampa Bay. In 7 games, they put up only about 16 goals. So it wasn't like they were scoring left, right, and center. But what to me really set Montreal apart was because they trusted Jakub Dobeš in net, the defensemen, Struble, Dobson, Matheson, Carrier, RBXI, they were getting their sticks in the way of Tampa Bay passing opportunities and in front of shooting opportunities. They were being very aggressive. They were finishing their checks in the defensive zone, and they were making sure that if Tampa Bay was trying to get into the offensive zone, it was going to be a rough night for them. And every pass was getting a stick in front of it or intercepting a pass. That's how they essentially ended game 7. Was they intercepted a pass from the face-off line and threw it out of the zone, and were able to run off the rest of the 6 seconds that were left there. So the defense has been absolutely amazing. The defense and the goaltending has been probably what's keeping Montreal in a lot of these games. But to talk about some of the scoring leaders, Lane Hudson continues to be a great offensive defenseman. 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points. Suzuki proves why he's, to me, a top 5 center in the league. Doesn't score a lot of goals. He had 1 goal, but he has 5 assists. Like, he sets guys up. He knows how to run that offense, and he gets guys open opportunities. Cole Caulfield needs to get going a little bit. Only 1 goal with 3 assists. Big surprise, Uri Slafkovsky, 3 goals, no assists. But it's so happy with Uri Slafkovsky's play in this series and going forward. The big guy I got to talk about is a trade we got from St. Louis, and that's Alexander Texier. He's been phenomenal. He was phenomenal in the series against the Lightning. 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. So I think this team is, again, they are not going to be firing. They're not going to be. This is not going to be the Avalanche and the Wild where it's 17 goals in 1 game. This is going to be a low-scoring 3-2, 2-1. 1-0 like Tampa was in Game 6. This is going to be a low-scoring series because that's how Montreal plays.
And just going off of Montreal for a second, I mean, the way Game 5 and Game 7 ended, you talked about sticks in the lane, the commitment to blocking shots.
Yep.
Like the ending to Game 5 was insane. The Lightning kept getting the offensive zone face-offs. Nothing's getting through to Dobesh because they're blocking everything. Same thing happened in Game 7. So I think a big key thing for the Sabres is you're going to have to get shots through and get people to the net. That's going to be a massive key. But the other side, you said you need to get Cole Caulfield going. Suzuki, I'd like a little bit more goal-scoring punch. I know the role he plays. The other guy they're going to need is Demidov.
Yep.
That's the guy. But the other thing is this, Nate, you have 2 D-cores, Sabres led by Rasmus Dahlin, the Canadians Lane Hudson. You got 2 D-cores that can really skate and move the puck.
For sure. Yeah. And Hudson, I mean, in particular, I mean, he's already put up some pretty good numbers too. I don't know if you got 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points. He's point per game. But yeah, that's talking about the D, and then obviously like Dahlin as well. You know, it's the puck possession by the defense and being able to skate around with the puck. I mean, it's going to be a huge part of this series. I do one key that I want to mention for the Sabres, because you mentioned about getting people in front, making sure you can get a rebound. Also, I think the reason why the Sabres did so well against the Boston is their forecheck was very good. They were constantly attacking, and you can't let up that mindset. You got to have a really strong forecheck and put pressure on Montreal to try to get the puck off their stick as quickly as they can. You know, if you put that pressure on them to to move the puck out quicker, you know, they might be a little bit more prone to mistakes. And like I said, I mean, there were times where they were smothered, especially Game 4, where one reason why we broke out to a 4-0 lead at the end of the first period of Game 4 is because the forecheck was so strong, and they were pinning Boston in their own end, and they were just relentless. So that's something that they got to do. They got to keep that forecheck going.
Other big thing. Oh, go ahead, Noah.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a huge thing. I think this series, when you talk about Buffalo and you talk about Montreal, is going to come down to who controls the puck more in their own zone, because that was one of the big things, like you were saying, Mike, with Tampa. And I said with Tampa, the second they got into Montreal's zone, there were guys on them. There was somebody pitting them in the corner, taking the puck away from them, getting it out of the zone. Like, that was why Montreal's penalty kill was so good, because they were just swarming guys, getting the puck out of the zone, and then regrouping. And so, yeah, Nate, for Buffalo, that's going to be the thing, is when you get into the offensive zone, you got to make sure your passes are clean. You got to make sure that you are getting the puck out of the corners, because that's where Montreal is really going to hurt you. Is going to be in those areas and creating a lot of opportunities off of that.
I felt too often in the Tampa series, and this is not to discredit the Canadians at all. I thought Tampa passed up a lot of good looks. They just refused to shoot the puck for whatever reason, especially Kucherov.
And that was a huge thing, and me and Nate both talked about it. What was a big thing for Montreal? Shutting Nikita Kucherov down. Nikita Kucherov had 44 goals, 86 assists for 130 points in 76 games coming into this series. 7 games, 1 goal, 5 assists.
Yeah. That was not a great performance by him. But again, you give the Canadians credit. And one guy who I don't think got enough credit, not just for the job he did in the playoffs, but for the job he did in the regular season and the job he's done since he's taken the job. I don't really think Marty St. Louis gets enough credit for what he's done with this team.
The fact
that he's not in the Jack Adams conversation to me is borderline asinine.
Right? Like, come on.
I think he'll eventually win one.
No, he could win one eventually. But to me, and this is not me knocking the Sabres or Lindy Ruff, because I know what Lindy Ruff is. Lindy Ruff is one of the greatest coaches of all time. All I have to do is look up. He's in the top 10 in wins all time.
Yeah.
I know Lindy, and I know he did a fantastic job, and I know the Sabres hadn't been in the playoffs in forever. It's the greatest story ever told outside of the Giants beating the undefeated Patriots. Lindy Ruff doesn't need a Jack Adams to tell me how great he is.
He already has one.
Right. Marty St. Louis should be getting recognized as a guy who had zero experience coming into this gig. And the way he's been able to elevate the Canadiens. And by the way, he's growing as those players grow. That's what makes the Canadiens really special.
I remember when he got the job and he replaced the former coach midseason. Because really, I started
the guy
watching.
Went to the Cup final, whose name I'll never remember.
Yeah, God, what was his name? It was right after that season. He got replaced midseason, and they put Marty St. Louis. And I was like, okay, I mean, yeah, whatever. I thought we were gonna go fully, into that. And I remember after that, Montreal started playing better, and I was like, okay, maybe there is something here. And then the next season, 2023, you just saw this steady improvement year after year with Marty St. Louis and this team. You go from 2021, you're in the Cup final, to the next year, you're not in the playoffs. 2023, you were building something, you were close to the playoffs. 2024, weren't in the playoffs, but then last year in the playoff, 2 years ago in the playoffs, get eliminated by the Capitals, who were the best team in the league at that point. But then this year you come in and you beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. So every year he's just gotten better. And I was
going to say Dominic Ducharme.
Dom Ducharme, yeah.
Dom Ducharme, that's right, yes.
Oh, yeah. But he's been unreal. Before we get into keys for both teams, I want to point out this is from Jesse Granger of the Athletic. Eastern Conference goalies in the playoffs have a .922 save percentage, 38.3 goals saved above expected, and 5 shutouts. Western Conference goalies have an .896 save percentage, a -20.3 goals saved above expected, and 0 shutouts. So Western Conference goalies, get your stuff together, man.
It's just amazing how the East is about these tight games. Goalies are on fire. 2-1 is the most you're gonna get, and then the West is just like it's goals every 5 seconds.
Oh.
Like the best goalie so far in the West has been Scott Wedgwood, and he's played 6 games. He has a 2.12 goals against average and a .923 save percentage. But after that, the next one's Carter Hart, and then it's been a crazy.
It doesn't help when you have to play the Avalanche or the Wild or
or Vegas.
Yeah.
Or Vegas.
Or the Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Noah, give me one X factor for the Canadiens on how they can win this series.
The X factor. So for me, an X factor would be something that didn't happen last series that they can't rely on this much. The Buffalo Sabres, I think their depth is much more than the Tampa Bay Lightning is. Because with the Tampa Bay Lightning, you shut down Nikita Kucherov, and they did. Tampa didn't really have anyone else to really get going. Buffalo has got a ton of guys that they can get going. So you can't rely on just shutting one guy down. You have to start scoring more. Okay, this is not going to be a 2-1. I think it's going to be close, but it's not going to be 2-1 every game or 1-0 every game. You have to get Cole Caulfield going. If Cole Caulfield gets going, I think it's a nightmare day for this. It's a nightmare series for the Sabres because Cole Caulfield can score from anywhere. 51 goals in the regular season. He's only got 1 goal so far in these playoffs, but if he gets going, that will propel Montreal over the Sabres.
All right, Nate, give me one X factor for the Sabres.
I think goaltending is going to be like the X factor here because and I mean there's a couple X factors, but I'm going to go with goaltending for this because Luukkonen gets the game 1 win against Boston. It was a comeback. You know, they were in a 2-0 hole against Boston, heading in like being in like at the beginning of the third period in game 1. And then the offense was able to, once they got potted one in with Tage, they were able to get some more in there. So Luukkonen gets the win. Game 2 happens, and he just does not look that good. I mean, he lets in one from center ice, which was very bad. And I mean, I think that rattled his confidence. All of a sudden they're in a 4-0 hole. And so Lyon goes in there, and Lyon's been very, very good ever since he's taken over. He really was a bit of a Bruin killer in that series. I mean, they were able to get a couple in there, and obviously Boston was able to win that game 5 in overtime. But otherwise, I mean, even when he lets one in, he's calm, he's cool, he's collected. He likes to chirp a little bit with the other opposing players. I mean, that's playoff hockey for you. But I mean, he has found his way to keep himself calm, cool, and collected. And I mean, he's been what they've needed in net. And the biggest thing here is, can he keep it up? And I think really this is an X factor for both goalies because Dobesh and Lyon, because both have been playing pretty well and both were able to get the wins for their respective teams in net. But you have Lyon, who this is the first example of him doing this before. And you have Dobesh, who I'm pretty sure Dobesh is a rookie, correct?
Yes, he is a rookie.
He's played phenomenal. And I'm not saying that he's going to, he's going to like, get in his own head.
This is his second season.
Okay. He's still pretty young, but like, so, I mean, goaltending in general, I think is going to be huge for both teams just because, it's a younger goalie in the case of Montreal. And I mean, he's not, again, I'm not saying that anything's going to happen there. He's been playing well. No reason he can't keep it up. But, he just needs to keep doing it. And with Lyon, I mean, this is the first example of like that, because he had playoff experience with Florida, but then Bob took over because Lyon couldn't keep the puck out of the net in Florida, and they felt the need they had to go in a different direction with Bob. And obviously the rest is history. They have 2 cups now in Florida. So like Lyon, it's a matter so goaltending is going to be huge for both teams here.
I'm going to go with special teams. I think whichever special teams play better, that team's going to win the series. Montreal had a good power play against Tampa. I think the Sabres struggled a little bit on the power play.
Yep.
I think, yeah.
Special teams always plays a factor along with goaltending. So, all right, Nate, how many games does it take the Sabres to win?
One thing I wanted to say, based on how good the Montreal power play was, you can't take penalties. You can't take penalties. And they were pretty good. They were pretty disciplined. Especially in particular game 6 against Boston. The only thing obviously being the Benson slew foot, which led to the McAvoy thing. And yeah, that's a whole other thing, a whole other conversation. But other than that, they didn't take any penalties in that game. So I think if you can find a way to keep yourself disciplined and stay out of the box, I think that's going to be, you're taking away a significant advantage that Montreal has, and I when it comes to their the Sabres power play, it was very bad. It was very bad all series. They got a goal in game 5 from Dahlin on the power play, which was good to get that one off the back. They had also scored another one. I think their second goal in game 4, the power play had just ended and the guy had like 1 foot on the ice. It was like not a power play goal, but essentially it was power play. It was 5-on-4 still, but you got to get the power play going. I mean, and they've had some time. Hopefully they can work on it. It's been a disaster all season though. So
Yeah, I will say that. I mean, and the penalty kill for both teams is pretty much even. 83% for Montreal, 87 for Buffalo. So Buffalo does have the slight edge in terms of the penalty kill in terms of this postseason. I think for Montreal that should empower you because you look at Buffalo and you say, okay, they have not gotten their power play going. We can take more chances because, okay, maybe if we get a penalty here or there, their power play is not efficient. We can take more chances in 5-on-5.
And that's what Boston was doing. Boston knew that they could do that too, so they weren't afraid to get into that
Well,
type
yeah,
of.
I seriously think, Nate, that's why they were able to squeeze 2 games out of the series. Because I think Buffalo was the better team all around the whole series, but because Boston was able to be more aggressive in 5-on-5 situations, that's what kept them in games.
Right.
Then you hear some of the injuries Boston, some of the guys were dealing with. It
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
Zadorov.
very true.
Zadorov had his
It was the
complete
MCL, I
MCL
think.
tear. Oh,
Fully
Yeah,
off the
MCL
bone.
tear, like,
jeez.
yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, no. All right, Nate, how many games for the Sabres to win this series?
I am gonna go Sabres because of course. I've got to go in 7. That's also that's the most obvious part of this whole series. I think anything in this series is uncertain except that it's gonna go 7. I think it's going 7, and other than that, we'll have to let the actual two teams write the story here for the series. But I think it goes 7. Goes 7.
All right,
I think
no.
this I think this goes 7 as well. I think this is going to be almost parallel to what happened with Montreal and the Lightning, where I think either Montreal gets a big win tonight and then Buffalo responds, or Buffalo gets their big win tonight and then I think this is going to be exactly how Tampa Bay went. It was both teams steal a game in the other opponent's building. Game 5 goes to the eventual winner. Game 6, the team keeps it alive, and then Game 7, I think Montreal takes it.
So we got 2 Game
So
7.
you're the only unbiased opinion here, Mike. So who are you going with?
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the Canadians, but I'm gonna go with the Canadians for this reason. Dobish is giving me the vibe, and Nate, I think you'll recall this, of Cristobal Huet when
I was
he
just
beat
getting into hockey then.
yeah when he beat Washington. I was like, oh man, I'm getting the same vibe. I think this is a totally even series. I'm with you guys. I think this will go 7. I think the tempo of this series is going to be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in this series is which team's stars can show up. Because Noah, you said it. You need a little bit more out of Cole Caulfield. I love Suzuki. I need a little bit more than one goal out of him.
Yeah.
You know, Nate with the Sabres, I want a little bit more out of Tage. But I love the balance of of what the Sabres have brought. This is going to be fascinating. I'm going to go Montreal by a hair. Right? Also, because if the Sabres win, I might hear from Gramps again at some point. But I don't know. But yeah, so we got the Sabres and the Canadians. They'll start tonight. That's followed up by Game 2 of the Golden Knights and the Ducks. But there is one other thing I wanted to hit on in this episode, and that is we talked earlier.
Mm-hmm.
The Edmonton Oilers lost again.
Yeah.
This time in the first round of the Anaheim Ducks, they fall short. And Nate, you and I were texting each other about what comes next for the Oilers.
Yeah.
And we're still kind of waiting because Leon Draisaitl gave an interesting perspective after the season. Connor McDavid called them an average team all year. What comes next in Edmonton? Because you're on the clock for the next year before you have to really make a McDavid decision.
Right. And that's the thing too, is if you listen to McDavid and Dreisaitl's postseason comments after they were eliminated, I mean, that's about as scathing as you probably could get. It was not good. And if you're management from Edmonton, if you're Bowman, if you're, it's like, as you said, the clock has begun because you have to figure it out. You have this off season, you got to get to work, because if you don't figure out a way to get them back deeper into the postseason, I mean, they called it for what it was. It was a step back. You were in the cup final the last 2 years, and you almost won it a couple times. We almost were able to pull it out against Florida, but you didn't. Twice against Florida. And so they have 2 cups, and they don't have any right now. And right now they're cupless in the McDavid era, and the McDavid era now is like a decade in, and McDavid's looking, and he's seeing that he's not getting any younger. And it's like how much longer do I want to commit to this before I run out of time? And same with Draisaitl. I think Draisaitl's feelings get lost in the shuffle because McDavid's the guy. He's the captain. He's the face of the sport. But Draisaitl's so damn good too. And I mean, he's another one where he's looking, and he's older than McDavid by a little bit. So he's also like, how much longer should I be putting up with this before I want out? I want to go somewhere else where I have a better chance to win a Stanley Cup, and they have a lot of work they got to do. I mean, we texted about the Darnell Nurse contract. They got to get out of the Darnell Nurse contract.
Yeah.
And that contract is immovable. What is it, like $9.5 million a year?
I think it's 925. Let me double check.
Yeah, I got it right now, 925.
They're gonna have to eat like half of that, and at least for anyone to take it. And even then, I don't want to touch that contract.
No.
I don't know. Maybe you're able to get a team that is trying to eat. I mean, I don't even really know what teams are trying to eat salary from other teams right now. I don't know who that would be, Mike. I don't know. Is there anyone that's actually doing that right now?
I mean, for someone to take that contract, you'd have to add a sweetener. Guess what?
Yeah.
They don't have draft capital.
No.
Got here's their draft picks for this year. They got a second, a third, a sixth, and a seventh.
Yeah.
And then next year, again, they don't have a first.
Well, and what are they going to do in free agency? Like, the free agents crop is really not that great. So what are they going to do? Go after Radish? I don't really know what
30.
Do.
He had to break a year at 30. What are you
gonna,
you brought up some contracts. Let's not forget Trent Frederick is under contract until 2033. Yeah, only $3.85 million. But guess what? You gave him a full no move clause.
Yeah, that contract was one of the worst ones in the McDavid era.
I mean, okay, Draisaitl, McDavid, Zach Hyman is going to go into a 10-team no trade. Nugent Hopkins, Frederick, Adam Henrique, who's probably going to retire. And then you go into Nurse, Ekholm, Wallman. All those guys have no trades.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, I didn't even get to Tristan Jarry, who's got a partial no trade. And that trade even set you back.
That trade this season became the biggest storyline for them, because you send Stuart Skinner over to Pittsburgh. Well, that's the thing too. I think that one of the important details about this, wasn't Jarry waived literally a year ago?
Jarry was on waivers a year ago.
Could have got him for free.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
Here's the funniest thing about that, because you're right. But here's the other part. Even if you didn't want to put up with Stuart Skinner for another year, He's a free agent. You
Yeah.
didn't have to do this. You could have wrote it out for one more year. It's you trade for Jari, who's got multiple years left at not a good number. And by the way, he was even your freaking starter in the playoffs. He started one game.
See now, what does their cap situation look like?
Okay, so I'm on puck.
I guess we got to factor in we got to factor in the cap space that they'll eventually have, which I'm sure isn't on those websites. But
okay, so they're gonna have around 16 mil, a little over 16 million in cap space.
I don't know if Winnipeg does it, but if Hellebuck doesn't want to come back,
but what are the Oilers giving?
What assets are there? Yeah, no, that's the problem.
And I think if you're Winnipeg, if you're moving Hellebuck, you're moving him to an Eastern Conference team.
Yeah, you don't want him in the West,
right?
Especially Western Canada.
Yeah, you're not like who. There's not going to be a goaltender on unless you make a play and you clear out so much space, and you think you could sign Bob, but I think Bob winds up back in Florida.
Yeah, I don't think unless Florida doesn't want Bob back, which I would find that hard to believe. Bob will just retire a Panther probably.
But here's the thing that makes it, I don't want to say funny, but you don't need an elite goaltender to win a cup. You need a competent goalie to win the cup.
Right. You've seen that. We've seen that constantly. I mean, where
Kemper won with Colorado. He wasn't an elite goalie. He was good enough.
Yeah.
Aiden Hill.
You know, I don't know if maybe they think they can fix a younger guy. I don't know what their plan is, but we hear rumblings. Maybe it's Chris Knobloch. Maybe it's Stan Bowman who has to go. The Oilers are in they are in deep water. And if they can't get themselves out of it, we're going to be talking about next year really being who's the team who's going to pull the trigger on Connor McDavid.
I think there's a chance this year that happens. I really do, because if you're Edmonton, I don't see how Connor McDavid doesn't demand a trade out. I don't understand how. This team has not cared about you the last few years. They have not done anything to really put you in a position. I understand they went to the Cup final 2 times, but at the same time, I think it's one of those things where they need a change of scenery. I think both him and Draisaitl need changes of scenery. Because here's the thing. I know it sounds nuts. Like why would you do this? If you're Edmonton, you currently as an organization have the most leverage right now with these two. Draisaitl signed and Connor McDavid signed. I think you've got to pull the trigger and just be like, we're doing a total rebuild. And get as much as you can for these 2 stars.
And no, let me be brutally honest. I don't disagree with you. I think it would be smart of them to at least move off. If you don't want to move off of both, which I totally understand, I would move off of Connor now.
Yeah.
That way I don't have to deal with the summer of Connor. And if Leon's unhappy after next season, then you can move off of Leon.
But, see, I wondered about them doing it. Sorry, I wondered about them doing it the other way, where you trade Leon and then you try to build with those parts around Connor.
You can do that.
You could. I mean, because I
think we all understand that the Oilers are at the same crossroads now that the Leafs were 2 years ago with the Marner situation.
Yeah, with the core 4, the mix isn't working. You have to get off of it.
You have to get off this somehow, because again, like we talked about, you're not getting off that Darnell Nurse contract unless you eat a good chunk of that money. I think there are some guys that, I mean, and here's the thing, they also do not have a lot of young stars ready to come up. Let's look at the average age of this team, right? Leon's 31, Connor's 30, Evan Bouchard's 27, Darnell Nurse is 31, Jack Wallman's 30, Zach Hyman's 34, Tristan Jarry's 31, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins 33, Matthias Ekholm's 36, Trent Fredericks 28, and then Matthias Janmark's 34. And then after that, they have like 5 guys that are below the age of 26.
So your average age is probably around 30, 31.
So you're not you have a double edge problem, because not only do you have not a good enough team, you don't have any young guys who are ready to come up and be those new guys.
Well, and you're getting a good chunk of those guys, like you said, average age might be like 31 years old. That's like you're starting to get off the prime age of your careers. So with everyone around that same age, everyone's going to dip around the same time. And I mean, which is why you get results like you did now, where you go from 2 straight cup finals to, and I don't know if McDavid brought this up himself, or if I forgot where I saw this, but someone brought up about the 24 cup final, that team, because that team, they've already lost a good chunk of that team already.
Yeah.
McLeod was traded for Savoy, which Savoy's looked pretty well for them at Edmonton, but Holloway and Broberg were poached off that team, at the same time from St. Louis, and there were some other guys. There was like a good chunk of that team was gone in the span of like 2 years, and that was a really good team.
And by the way, and I keep saying the most important player on that team, in my opinion, outside of Connor and Liam, Evander Kane. How many big goals did Evander Kane have in the playoffs for the Oilers?
Yeah,
and we could talk about his off the ice and stuff. But when he played, he was an important player for the Oilers. But and the other thing, and no, you brought up the name before, and I brought him up because I know his no trade gets down to like 10 teams. Zach Hyman's another guy I would just move off of. He's still a productive player, but he's now 33, I think you said, Noah.
34.
34, and he's getting hurt a little bit more often. I'm not saying you're getting a ton for Zach Hyman, but now it's another guy. Hey, I can get maybe a 3rd round pick or a prospect for Hyman. Let's see.
There's some nice playoff teams who could use Hyman right now too. So
I would love Hyman as center depth in Montreal.
Guy who goes to the front of the net to score the dirty stuff. Oh yeah, a lot of teams would love that. But yeah, the Oilers, they're a mess. But we'll see what happens as we go deeper into the summer. But again, we're into the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Also, we had the draft lottery last night. And if you didn't know, the Toronto Maple Leafs won. I have nothing else to say about the draft lottery.
Because, of course, they did.
I have nothing else to add.
Sharks have the 2 pick, Canucks at 3, Blackhawks 4, Rangers 5. Round out the top 5.
What do you know? Toronto did find their replacement for Marner.
Woo. Yeah, good for them.
But we all know the one thing everyone's really hoping for. Chase Reed becomes a New York Ranger. That's the dream. We're going to start the dream. All right. That'll do it for this edition of the Breakaway Bandits podcast. Best of luck to both Noah and Nate as they try to start their journey to the Eastern Conference Final tonight. And I'm going to sit on my ass and watch the game as it unfolds. But if you like this content, like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube page. Check us out on the socials, Facebook, the Sports Insanity Network, Twitter, Insanity Real. Go to the website, thesportsinsанitynetwork.com, for blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. For Nate, Noah, I'm Mike. We'll talk to you all again next time here on the Breakaway Bandits podcast, here on the Sports Insanity.